My friends, let us take a moment to reflect on the truth we so often forget. Life in its essence is an eternal flow, a river of experiences, thoughts, and emotions that rise, peak, and fall. So often we try to cling to what is fleeting, we resist the inevitable, and we fear the end of things. But here's the reality: everything ends. And in this there is no tragedy, only a part of the dance of life. My friends, let us take a moment to reflect on something we so often forget: the very nature of life itself. We are often so caught up in the daily grind, in our ambitions, in our attachments to things, to people, and to experiences, that we forget the fundamental truth of our existence. Life is not a linear path that we can control. It is a river, constantly flowing, shifting, and evolving. It is a process, not a product. Our life is a process, a product, and in this flow, everything is temporary. The joys, the sorrows, the moments of ecstasy, the moments of pain, the things that we hold on to and the things we let slip through our fingers, all of it is transient. Everything ends. This is a truth that we try so hard to deny, and yet it is the one constant we can be sure of. We fear endings, don't we? We try to avoid them, resist them, and sometimes even pretend they aren't coming. We cling to what we know, to what feels comfortable, to what feels safe, even when we know deep down that it's time to move on. Whether it's a relationship, a job, a phase of our lives, or even an old belief that no longer serves us, we hold on. But why? What are we so afraid of? The truth is that we are afraid of the unknown, of the space that comes after an ending. But the irony is this: the moment we release our grip and allow something to end, we make way for new beginnings. We allow ourselves to move with the flow of life instead of against it. You see, this fear of endings often keeps us stuck, trapped in the illusion of control. We think that by holding on, by avoiding change, we are somehow securing our happiness or our peace. But what if I told you that by trying to control everything, we are missing out on the very essence of life? What if I told you that the beauty of life lies not in its permanency, but in its impermanence? In its ability to renew itself, to shift, to transform, to surprise us at every turn. The ending of one chapter is not a tragedy. It is simply the closing of a door so that we may walk through another, one we couldn't have even imagined before. Endings, you see, are not to be feared, they are to be embraced. Not because they are easy, but because they are necessary. They allow for growth, for change, for expansion. Every ending contains within it the seed of a new beginning. And we are not simply passive participants in this dance of life, we are active creators of it. We have the power, if we choose to exercise it, to let go of what no longer serves us. And in that release we step into something new, something unknown, something full of potential. But let us be clear, even though endings are a natural part of life, they don't always come without pain. We often mistake endings for loss, and indeed there is often an emotional cost to the things we must release. It hurts to say goodbye to what we have known, to what we have grown attached to. It is painful to let go of the familiar, the comfortable, the secure. And yet this pain is not something to be feared either. It is simply part of the process. Pain is a natural response to loss, and it is an essential part of growth. Without it, we would not appreciate the beauty of what we gain in the process of letting go. Without it, we would never fully understand the value of what we have. However, but the pain itself is not the end. It is merely the bridge between the old and the new, the space where we process, reflect, and eventually release. In allowing ourselves to feel that pain without resistance, without trying to numb or run away from it, we open ourselves up to the deeper truth of who we are, and in that space of vulnerability, we begin to heal. So, my friends, remember that life is not about holding on to the past, but about embracing the flow of change, no matter how difficult it may seem. The endings, the hurt, the healing, these are all part of the dance of life. To let go is not to lose, but to free ourselves. To let go is not to surrender, but to trust in the greater unfolding. Life is not meant to be static. It is meant to be a journey of becoming. So let it end, let it hurt, let it heal, and most importantly, let it go. For in this process, we find freedom. And as we allow ourselves to accept the truth of endings, we must also accept something else, that life will, at times, hurt. We are not immune to pain, no matter how hard we try to shield ourselves from it. Pain comes in many forms, emotional, physical, psychological, and while it may feel unbearable in the moment, it is an essential part of the human experience. It is easy to view pain as something to be avoided, something to be feared, but what if we could see pain as something more? What if we could view it as a messenger, a guide, a signal that we are alive, that we are engaged in the process of living fully? Pain is a teacher. It shows us what matters, what we care about, what we are willing to fight for, and what we need to release. It is through pain that we come to understand the depths of our own hearts, our own souls. Without it, we would be numb, indifferent, disconnected from the very essence of our being. But when we allow ourselves to feel the pain, to sit with it, to acknowledge it, to embrace it, we open ourselves to growth. For it is only in allowing ourselves to truly experience the fullness of pain that we can begin to understand the fullness of joy. This is where the healing begins. Healing is not something that can be rushed or forced. It is not a linear process with a clear beginning and end. It is a messy, unpredictable, and deeply personal journey. Each person's path to healing is unique, and there is no right way to heal. It is a process that unfolds over time, and it requires patience and compassion. We cannot heal until we are willing to face the wound, to look it in the eye and say, "I see you, I understand you, I will not run from you." Healing is not about erasing the pain or pretending it never happened. It is not about putting on a mask of strength or moving on too quickly. Healing is about integration. It is about allowing the pain to be a part of us, not as something that defines us, but as something that shapes us. It is through healing that we learn to carry our scars with grace and wisdom. We begin to understand that our wounds are not a sign of weakness, but of resilience. The very fact that we are still standing, still breathing, still moving forward, speaks to the strength of our spirit. Healing is about making peace with what has been, and using that peace to fuel our journey forward. We can recognize this happening in the world, and find a sense of reason and purpose for perseverance. But even as we heal, there comes a time when we must let go. Letting go is often the hardest part of the process, and yet it is the most liberating. To let go is to release the grip we have on the past, to stop trying to control what has already happened. It is to acknowledge that we cannot change what has been, and that continuing to hold on to it only keeps us tethered to a version of ourselves that no longer exists. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It does not mean denying the importance of what was. It simply means freeing ourselves from the burden of carrying it with us at all times. Letting go is not an act of defeat, but of courage. It requires us to trust in the unknown, to trust that the future holds something better, something more in alignment with who we are becoming. It requires us to surrender, not in weakness, but in faith. For when we let go, we make space for new possibilities, new experiences, and new growth. The act of letting go is not a loss, it is a gift. A gift that allows us to be fully present in the here and now, to embrace the beauty of the present moment, without the weight of the past holding us back. In this release, we discover freedom. We begin to understand that life is not something that happens to us, but something that we are actively participating in. Every ending, every hurt, every healing, and every release is a part of the greater unfolding of our journey, and the more we can learn to let go, the more we open ourselves to the infinite possibilities that life has to offer. The paradox is this: by letting go, we gain more than we could ever imagine. We gain the freedom to be who we truly are, to live with purpose, to experience life fully and without fear. So, my friends, let it end. Let it hurt, let it heal, and above all, let it go. For in this process we discover the depth and beauty of life itself. We become who we are meant to be. We become whole. And so we come to the heart of this journey, the moment of letting go. The process of releasing is often seen as the hardest part of any transformation, yet it is also the most powerful. We have been taught that letting go is an act of surrender, an act of defeat. But the truth is, letting go is the greatest act of strength. It is an act of trust, an act of faith in the unfolding mystery of life. It requires us to have confidence that we do not need to control everything, that we do not need to hold on to every fragment of the past, every wound, every attachment. We only need to let go and trust that life will carry us where we need to go. To let go is to accept that there is nothing to lose. We often think we are holding on to something important, something irreplaceable. But in reality, we are holding on to something that no longer serves us. We may be clinging to old stories about ourselves, old identities, old expectations, but all of these things are simply attachments to a version of ourselves that is no longer true. The person we were yesterday is not the person we are today. And the person we will be tomorrow will not be the person we are today. Life is constantly evolving, and so are we. To hold on to the past is to deny the ever-changing nature of who we are. To let go is to acknowledge that change is inevitable, and to welcome it with open arms. This act of letting go, of releasing, is not about forgetting. It is not about erasing what has been. It is about accepting that the past has passed, that it has shaped us, and that it has brought us to this very moment. We must honor the past for what it has taught us, for the lessons it has provided, and for the strength it has forged in us. But we must also recognize that the past is not where we live. The past is gone, and it will never return. To let go is to stop holding on to something that we can never change, and to allow ourselves to move forward into something new, something unknown, something that is waiting for us to discover it. It practices gratitude that discovers what is real after the myriad of sensory representations to reveal the nature of reality. Letting go is also not a one-time event, but a continuous process. It is a practice, an ongoing act of surrender, of releasing the grip we have on life. We let go of expectations, of fears, of the need for certainty. We let go of the desire to control every outcome, to manipulate every situation to fit our ideal. This doesn't mean we give up on our dreams or our goals. It simply means we stop trying to force things to happen in our own time and in our own way. We allow life to unfold as it is meant to, trusting that it will guide us to where we need to be. In this way, and this process of letting go brings us a profound freedom. The more we release, the lighter we become. We no longer carry the weight of past regrets, missed opportunities, or unfulfilled desires. We stop dragging the heavy chains of what we think we should have done, what we think we should have been. Instead, we stand in the present moment, unburdened, free to be who we truly are. We allow ourselves to be fully present in the here and now, without the distraction of what has been or what might be. We learn to trust ourselves, to trust life, and to trust that the next step will be revealed to us when the time is right. In letting go, we are not simply releasing what we no longer need, we are also opening ourselves up to receive. We create space in our lives for new possibilities, for new experiences, and for new growth. When we hold on too tightly to the past, we block the flow of energy that could bring us new opportunities. But when we let go, we create space for the universe to fill us with what we truly need. We allow new ideas, new relationships, new experiences to enter our lives. And this is where the magic happens. When we trust the process of life, when we surrender to the flow, we discover that we are capable of more than we ever imagined. Letting go is not an act of resignation. It is an act of empowerment. It is an act of liberation. It is the recognition that we are not defined by our past, that we are not bound by our mistakes, our failures, or our limitations. We are defined by our ability to grow, to change, and to evolve. And when we let go of what no longer serves us, we make space for the fullness of who we are to emerge. Healing takes place in surprisingly simple ways, just as recognizing one's arrival takes place inside of you as a host. So, my friends, as we walk this path of life, let us not be afraid of endings. Let us not fear the hurt, for it is the necessary part of the journey. Let us not resist the healing, for it is the balm for our wounds. And let us not hold on to what no longer serves us, Let it end, let it hurt, let it heal, let it go. And in doing so, we will find the freedom to be who we are truly meant to be. And as we continue this journey, we must recognize that letting go is not simply about releasing the past or moving on from something that no longer serves us. It is also about embracing the present moment, the space between what was and what will be. There is a profound wisdom in this space, a wisdom that allows us to be fully present with ourselves, fully aware of our feelings, our thoughts, and our experiences. Too often we rush to escape discomfort, to avoid the void that can come with endings, but in doing so we miss out on the richness of the moment. When we truly let go, we open ourselves to the fullness of life that is happening right here, right now. The richness of life that is happening right here, right now. The challenge lies not in letting go of the past, but in allowing ourselves to be vulnerable enough to let life unfold without interference. It is easy to become attached to outcomes, to cling to the desire for things to turn out a certain way, to shape our future according to a plan that we think is best. But life in its true form is unpredictable. It is constantly changing, evolving, and reshaping itself. And when we try to control every aspect of it, when we try to force things into a rigid framework of our own design, we miss the magic of the unknown. We lose the joy that comes from allowing life to surprise us, from embracing the mystery that is inherent in every moment. When we let go, we are not giving up control. We are surrendering to the natural flow of things. We are allowing ourselves to trust that the universe has its own timing, that everything happens for a reason, even if we cannot always see it at the moment. Trusting life is an act of faith. It is the recognition that we do not need to have all the answers, that we do not need to know exactly what comes next. We do not need to know exactly what comes next. By releasing the need to control every outcome, we allow life to reveal itself to us in unexpected and beautiful ways. This is not to say that letting go is always easy. In fact, it is often one of the most difficult things we will ever do. We are creatures of habit, and we tend to resist change. We are wired to seek comfort, to hold on to the familiar, even when it no longer serves us. The fear of the unknown can be paralyzing, and the idea of releasing our grip on what we know can feel terrifying. But in reality, it is this very fear that keeps us trapped. It is the fear of what we cannot control that prevents us from stepping into the full potential of who we are. To let go requires courage. It requires the courage to face uncertainty, to step into the unknown, without knowing exactly where we are going or what will happen next. It requires the courage to trust ourselves, to trust our intuition, and to trust that we are capable of handling whatever comes our way. And yes, it may hurt. It may feel like we are losing something precious. But what we gain in return is far greater than what we could ever hold on to. This is where integrity comes in. In letting go, we create space for new growth, new possibilities, and new experiences. When we hold on to the past, when we cling to what no longer serves us, we are effectively keeping ourselves in a prison of our own making. We are holding ourselves hostage to old beliefs, old patterns, and old ways of thinking. But when we release our grip, we free ourselves. We free ourselves from the limitations that we have imposed upon ourselves, and we open the door to something new. We make room for new experiences, new relationships, and new opportunities to enter our lives. Letting go is also a deeply spiritual practice. It is a recognition that we are part of something much greater than ourselves, that we are part of the vast interconnected web of life. When we let go, we are not simply releasing our attachment to one thing. We are acknowledging the greater flow of existence. We are trusting that life has a way of guiding us, of bringing us what we need, even if it doesn't always look the way we expect. By letting go, we align ourselves with the greater rhythm of life, and in doing so we find peace, we find joy, and we find the freedom to be who we truly are. So, my friends, let us not be afraid of endings, for they are not the end of our journey, but the beginning of something new. Let us not fear the hurt, for it is through the hurt that we learn, that we grow, and that we find the strength to carry on. Let us not resist the healing, for it is the balm that soothes our wounds and restores us to wholeness. And let us not hold on to what no longer serves us. Let it end, let it hurt, let it heal, let it go. And in doing so, we will discover the freedom to live fully, to experience life deeply, and to step into the limitless potential that is always waiting for us. And as we continue to explore this notion of letting go, we begin to realize that it is not a single act, but a continuous process. Life is a series of moments, each one offering us the opportunity to release, to surrender, and to embrace what comes next. We often think of letting go as a one-time decision, as if once we let go of something, we are done and it's behind us. But the truth is, we are constantly being asked to let go. We are constantly being asked to release the old so that we can make room for the new. Every day we are presented with choices. Choices about what to hold on to and what to release, about what to embrace and what to let go. The beauty of life lies in the freedom that comes from making these choices consciously, from being fully aware of what we are holding on to and why. Let's find our way through the unconscious to release time and space, to be fully aware of what we are holding on to and why. The act of letting go requires an awareness of the present moment. It requires us to be fully engaged in what is happening right now, without being clouded by the past or distracted by the future. The past is a story we tell ourselves. It is the collection of memories, experiences, and narratives that we use to define who we are. But those stories are not the full picture. They are simply fragments of a much larger and more complex whole. It is not life without the past and the future. They are simply fragments of a much larger and more complex whole. When we hold on to these fragments too tightly, when we define ourselves solely by what we have been, we limit our potential. We box ourselves in. But when we let go of these old stories, we allow ourselves to expand. We create space for new stories to emerge, new experiences to unfold, and new aspects of ourselves to be revealed. Letting go also requires us to challenge the beliefs and assumptions that we carry with us. We all have beliefs about who we are, what we can do, and what is possible in our lives. These beliefs are often shaped by our past, by the opinions of others, and by the world around us. But not all of these beliefs serve us. Some of them limit us, keep us stuck in patterns of fear, doubt, and uncertainty. When we let go of these limiting beliefs, we free ourselves to explore new possibilities. We open ourselves to a life that is not confined by the narrow lens of what we thought was possible. We begin to see that there is no limit to what we can create, no boundary to what we can achieve, no end to the potential that lies within us. We can become ever more capable of creating ever greater things for ourselves and ever greater abilities for the lives within us. And yet letting go does not mean abandoning our dreams, our hopes, or our goals. It does not mean giving up on what we truly desire. Rather, it means releasing our attachment to the how and the when. When we hold on too tightly to the way we think things should unfold, we are essentially resisting the natural flow of life. We are trying to control something that is beyond our control. Letting go means trusting that life will bring us what we need when the time is right. It seems to me, spirit letting go means trusting that life will bring us what we need when the time is right. It means having faith that the path we are meant to walk will reveal itself. Even if it is not the path we originally envisioned, it means surrendering to the unknown, to the mystery, to the unfolding of life, knowing that what is meant for us will find its way to us regardless of our plans. There is a profound peace in this surrender. When we let go of our need to control every aspect of our lives, we allow ourselves to be at peace with what is. We stop fighting against the flow of life and begin to flow with it. We stop struggling to make things happen and start allowing them to happen. This doesn't mean we become passive or complacent, but rather that we take inspired action from a place of trust and alignment, not from a place of desperation or fear. We learn to work with the universe, not against it. We understand that life is not something that happens to us, but something that we are co-creating every day. And when we let go, we tap into the vast reservoir of creativity, possibility, and potential that exists in every moment. Letting go also frees us from the burden of perfectionism. So often we hold on to things, situations, or people because we feel that we need them to be perfect, or that we must be perfect in order to be worthy. But perfection is an illusion. It is a fleeting, unattainable ideal that keeps us striving and never fully satisfied. When we let go of the need for perfection, we liberate ourselves from the constant cycle of striving, judging, and comparing. We begin to see ourselves as whole and complete, just as we are. We begin to appreciate the beauty in our imperfections, the wisdom in our mistakes, and the strength in our vulnerability. At the same time, and ultimately this act of letting go leads to a deeper connection with ourselves and with others. When we release our attachments to outcomes, we free ourselves to be present with what is. We stop trying to control or manipulate others, and instead we allow them to show up as they are. We stop trying to fix or change things, and instead we learn to accept life as it unfolds. We open ourselves to love and connection in a way that is not based on conditions or expectations, but on mutual respect, trust, and authenticity. It comes from a deeper, full awareness of ourselves, from the inside out. So, my friends, remember, let it end, let it hurt, let it heal, let it go. For in letting go we unlock the deepest freedom of all, the freedom to live fully, to love deeply, to create without limitations, and to embrace the beauty of life as it is, in all its messy, imperfect, and glorious unfolding. Have you ever considered what it truly means to be irreplaceable? Not in a sense of vanity, but in the quiet power of knowing your worth so deeply that your presence becomes magnetic. To become the one they fear losing is not about manipulation or control. It is about becoming so authentically and unapologetically yourself that your essence cannot be replicated. It never applies to knowing what they want, or to trying to reach their selves, for that your essence cannot be replicated. This journey begins with a profound understanding of your own value, not defined by others but discovered within yourself. It's about lighting up the spaces you inhabit, not through demand, but through the sheer vibrancy of your existence. To walk this path is to embody freedom, to grow constantly, and to remain rooted in the undeniable power of authenticity. To become the one they fear losing begins with a journey inward, to a place where you confront the very essence of who you are. This is not a journey everyone takes, and perhaps that is why those who do embark on it radiate a kind of power that others find both inspiring and intimidating. It starts with understanding your own worth, not as something that fluctuates with the whims of external approval, but as an undeniable truth that exists independent of the world's judgment. The moment you stop seeking validation outside yourself, you begin to tap into a wellspring of confidence and self-awareness that cannot be shaken. It's impossible not to be. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, not to critique what you see, but to truly see it. Every strength, every flaw, every story etched into your being. This is the foundation of self-worth, an acceptance so deep that it transcends the need to fit into someone else's idea of perfection. When you own who you are, fully and without apology, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing. Instead, you attract. Your energy shifts and the world around you takes notice. But self-worth alone is not enough. To become the one they fear losing, you must cultivate a presence that leaves an imprint wherever you go. Presence is not about being loud or commanding attention in an obvious way. It's about the quiet assurance that comes from living a life aligned with your values and passions. It's about showing up fully in each moment, engaged and alive, as if you are not just occupying space but contributing something vital to it. This kind of presence can be felt. It's in the way you listen, the way you speak, the way you simply are. Yet even as you cultivate this magnetic presence, you must understand the art of detachment. This is not the cold, indifferent detachment of someone who refuses to care, but the wise detachment of someone who knows that love, in its purest form, cannot thrive in the shadow of fear or control. To love without clinging is to trust in the strength of your connections while remaining free enough to walk away if those connections no longer honor you. This freedom is not only liberating for you, but also profoundly inspiring to others. It reminds them that love is a choice, not a prison, and that the greatest relationships are built on mutual respect, not dependency. Growth is another essential ingredient in this transformation. Life is in constant motion, and so are we. To become irreplaceable is to embrace this flow and commit to evolving in every aspect of your being. This does not mean chasing perfection. It means being curious, open, and willing to learn. It means seeking out experiences that challenge you, relationships that expand you, and moments that teach you something new about yourself. The more you grow, the more layers you add to your being, making you not just someone they fear losing, but someone who is endlessly fascinating and inspiring to be around. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, you must dare to be authentic. In a world that often encourages conformity, being unapologetically yourself is a radical act. Authenticity is not about fitting in, it's about standing out, not by trying to be different, but by simply being true. It's in the way you laugh, the way you speak your mind, the way you pour your heart into the things you love. Grant yourself the satisfaction of being you. Grant yourself the attitude that you understand the world by. When you live authentically, you give others permission to do the same, and that kind of freedom is unforgettable. To become the one they fear losing is not about creating a facade or becoming something you're not. It's about uncovering the deepest, truest version of yourself and living in alignment with that truth. It's about walking into every room, every relationship, and every moment with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their value. And in doing so, you become not just someone they fear losing, but someone they are honored to know. End of introduction. This recording is about walking into every room, every relationship, and every moment with the honored to know. To become someone whose presence is feared to be lost is to understand and embrace the profound power of your own presence. This presence is not simply a matter of being seen or heard. It is about how you inhabit the world and the spaces you enter. It is a living, breathing essence that arises when you commit to living fully, authentically and unapologetically. Presence is cultivated in the quiet moments as much as in the grand gestures, in how you show up for yourself, in the care you give to the people around you, and in the passion you bring to your pursuits. In these ways, presence represents greater freedom, real retreat, and the possibility. There is something magnetic about a person who is fully present. They listen not just with their ears, but with their entire being, making others feel seen and understood in a way that is rare and deeply valued. They speak with intention, choosing words that carry weight and meaning, rather than speaking merely to fill silence. Their energy does not demand attention, but invites it naturally, like a flame, drawing people closer without ever needing to shout for notice. This kind of presence is not born of pretense or performance. It is the natural byproduct of someone who has learned to be at home within themselves. When you cultivate this kind of presence, you make an indelible impression. People remember how they felt in your company, the ease, the inspiration, the sense of connection. This is the kind of energy that lingers long after you've left the room, making your absence feel significant. It is not something you can fake or manufacture. It must come from a genuine place of self-awareness and self-love. This is what you want to share. To achieve this, you must first confront the parts of yourself you may have avoided. You must embrace not only your light but also your shadows, understanding that both are necessary to create the full picture of who you are. True presence also requires a deep engagement with life itself. It is about living with intention, not simply drifting from one moment to the next. When you approach life with curiosity and enthusiasm, you infuse your days with a kind of vitality that others cannot help but notice. This doesn't mean you have to be constantly achieving or striving. Sometimes the most powerful presence comes from the ability to be still, to savor a moment, to fully appreciate the beauty of what is right in front of you. However, presence is not just about what you offer to others. It is also about what you protect for yourself. To be the one they fear losing, you must set boundaries that honor your time, energy, and well-being. This is not selfish. It is necessary. When you respect yourself enough to say no to what does not serve you, you teach others to respect you as well. Boundaries are a way of preserving the integrity of your presence, ensuring that you do not give it away too easily or to those who would not value it. But this does not mean you become distant or unattainable. On the contrary, it is the balance of openness and boundaries, of connection and self-preservation, that makes your presence so compelling. People are drawn to those who know their worth because it inspires them to recognize their own. Your presence becomes a mirror, reflecting back to others the possibility of living with the same authenticity and courage. Your presence makes it possible to live in the same authenticity and courage. And if you see and feel within you the peace and meaning, the joy and happiness that is within you, ultimately the power of your presence lies in its authenticity. It is not about trying to be someone you're not or creating an image of perfection. It is about being fully and unapologetically yourself, flaws and all. This kind of authenticity is rare and precious, and it is why people will fear losing you. Because when they are with you, they feel something real, something that cannot be replaced. You become not just a person in their life, but a force that shapes their experience of the world. Wow. To embody this kind of presence is to live as a constant reminder of what it means to be alive, to be free, to be deeply connected to oneself and others. It is not about striving to be irreplaceable. It is about becoming so fully yourself that the thought of losing you becomes unimaginable. In this way, your presence becomes a gift, a rare and beautiful thing that others will treasure, not because you demand it, but because you inspire it. To truly become the one they fear losing, you must understand and master the delicate balance between connection and freedom. Love, respect, and admiration are most powerful when they are given freely, unburdened by fear or control. The paradox here is that to make yourself irreplaceable, you must first embrace the idea that nothing in life is truly permanent. This acceptance of impermanence is not a resignation, but a liberation. The liberation, when you release the need to hold tightly to people or situations, you free yourself to experience relationships and life as they are meant to be, flowing, evolving, and endlessly alive. And this balance begins with a mindset shift, recognizing that true connection is not about ownership. It is about mutual respect and shared experiences that are enriched by the individuality of those involved. When you approach relationships with this understanding, You create an environment where people feel safe, valued, and free. Altogether, this leads to a powerful fulfillment, the truest containment and freedom. They don't fear losing you because you've manipulated them into dependence. They fear losing you because the space you occupy in their life is one of genuine joy and depth. But balance also requires you to cultivate your independence. People are drawn to those who are self-sufficient, not out of necessity, but out of choice. When you live a life filled with your own passions, goals, and interests, you become more than a partner, friend, or companion. You become an inspiration. Your independence shows others that you are whole on your own, and this wholeness is magnetic. It teaches them that love is not about completing one another, but about sharing in each other's fullness. To embody this balance, you must also let go of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, fear of losing those you care about. These fears can lead to behaviors that undermine the very connections you wish to strengthen. Clinging too tightly, seeking constant reassurance, or attempting to control the dynamics of a relationship only pushes people away. Instead, trust in the bonds you've created. Trust that your value speaks for itself and that those who are meant to be in your life will remain, not out of obligation, but because they choose to stay. This trust is a cornerstone of your growth. Life is a continuous journey of learning, adapting, and becoming. When you commit to your own evolution, you not only enrich your own life, but also bring more to the lives of those around you. Growth can take many forms: learning a new skill, deepening your understanding of yourself, or challenging beliefs that no longer serve you. It's in the moments of growth that you become even more of the person others fear losing. They see your willingness to embrace change, and it inspires them to do the same. However, this journey is not always easy. There will be times when you doubt yourself, when you feel like you are not enough, or when relationships falter despite your best efforts. In these moments, it is essential to return to your center, to the place within you that knows your worth is not defined by external circumstances. Remember that even the strongest connections sometimes shift, and this is not a reflection of your value, but a natural part of life's ebb and flow. Through it all, authenticity remains your most powerful asset. People may admire many qualities in others, but what they truly connect with is authenticity. When you show up as yourself, honest, imperfect, and unfiltered, you create a space where others feel they can do the same. Authenticity breaks down walls and fosters real, meaningful connections. It is the thread that ties everything together, from self-worth to presence to love. In this way, becoming the one they fear losing is not about making yourself indispensable. It is about creating a life so rich, a presence so genuine, and a connection so free that those who are part of it cannot imagine a world without you. It's about living in a way that honors your own path while enhancing the lives of those around you. And in doing so, you not only become someone they fear losing, you become someone they are endlessly grateful to have found. In order to become someone they fear losing, you must first embrace the paradox that the only person you truly need is yourself. This does not mean rejecting connection or shutting out others, but rather realizing that the foundation of all meaningful relationships begins within. The way you treat yourself, speak to yourself, and show up for yourself sets the tone for how the world interacts with you. In other words, the way you treat yourself sets the tone for how the world interacts with you. When you honor your own needs, respect your boundaries, and cultivate a sense of inner peace, you radiate an energy that draws others in. People fear losing those who know their worth because such individuals are rare and irreplaceable. Face the fact. It is real. This journey towards self-realization demands honesty. You must look within and confront the parts of yourself that you've hidden or avoided. The fear, the doubt, the insecurities. They must all be faced. not as enemies to conquer, but as aspects of yourself to understand and integrate. There is profound strength in being able to acknowledge your flaws while still standing firmly in your value. What's more, there is profound strength in being able to acknowledge your flaws while still standing firmly in your value. This honesty with yourself creates a foundation of authenticity that ripples outward into every interaction you have. When you are real with yourself, you invite others to be real with you, creating connections that are rooted in truth rather than pretense. As you cultivate this authenticity, you begin to recognize the importance of aligning your actions with your values. Too often people live in a way that pleases others while betraying their own hearts. This disconnection creates a sense of unease that seeps into relationships and weakens their foundation. But when you live in alignment, when your actions reflect your beliefs, your words match your intentions, and your life honors your deepest truths, you become a beacon of integrity. People are drawn to those who live with purpose, because it is a reminder of what is possible when one has the courage to be fully themselves. Einstein. Part of this alignment involves prioritizing what truly matters. To be someone they fear losing, you must invest in the things that bring you joy, growth, and fulfillment. This means being intentional with your time and energy, choosing activities, relationships, and goals that enrich your life rather than deplete it. When you pursue your passions and nurture your well-being, you not only elevate yourself, but also inspire those around you. Your commitment to living a vibrant, meaningful life becomes a source of light that others cannot help but admire and cherish. It also will pave the way for happiness and fulfillment, which will be shared by everyone affected. At the same time, you must understand the art of reciprocity. Relationships thrive when there is a balance of giving and receiving, when both parties feel valued and supported. To become irreplaceable is not to give endlessly or demand more than you offer. It is to create connections where both people feel seen, heard, and uplifted. This requires you to listen deeply, communicate openly, and show up consistently. Inconsistently. It is in these moments of genuine connection that bonds are forged. Not through grand gestures, but through the quiet, everyday acts of care and consideration. However, even as you give of yourself, you must never lose sight of the importance of boundaries. Boundaries are not walls that keep others out. They are bridges that teach others how to treat you while allowing you to maintain your own sense of self. When you set and enforce healthy boundaries, you send a clear message that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable. This not only protects you, but also fosters respect in your relationships, ensuring that they are built on mutual understanding rather than obligation or resentment. Ultimately, the fear of losing you arises not from scarcity, but from the realization that what you bring to the table is unique and irreplaceable. It is not something that can be manufactured or imitated. It is the culmination of your self-awareness, your growth, your authenticity, and your ability to connect deeply with others. To walk this path is to live with intention and courage, embracing both the beauty and the impermanence of life. In doing so, you become more than just someone they want in their lives. You become someone they are honored to know. Your presence is a gift, your energy a reminder of what it means to live fully, and your authenticity a beacon that inspires others to do the same. And that in itself is why they fear losing you. Not because they can't go on without you, but because the world is infinitely better with you in it. In the relationships with others around you, in the human connections that you have, in the contentment that you experience, and to truly become someone they fear losing, you must master the art of self-transformation. Life is not static, and neither are we. Growth is inevitable, but the kind of growth that leaves a lasting impression is intentional. It comes from the conscious choice to evolve, to shed the layers of limitation, and to embrace your highest potential. to reduce your drama, to reduce your resistance and control your instinctive responses. People fear losing those who continue to rise, not because they are unattainable, but because their journey inspires others to seek greatness within themselves. This process of transformation begins with curiosity about who you are and who you are capable of becoming. Footnote: explore your capabilities and experience their worth. End footnote. To transform, you must first embrace discomfort. Growth is rarely found in comfort zones, and the journey toward becoming irreplaceable requires you to step into the unknown. It means challenging the narratives you've carried, questioning the beliefs that no longer serve you, and daring to fail in pursuit of something greater. This is not a path for the faint of heart, but it is one that shapes you into a person of depth and resilience. Each challenge you overcome, each fear you face, and each lesson you learn adds a layer to your character that cannot be replicated. As you transform, you begin to see that your uniqueness is your greatest strength. Too often, people try to fit into molds that were never designed for them, diluting their essence to meet expectations. But the truth is, what makes you different is what makes you unforgettable. Embrace your quirks, your passions, and even your flaws, for they are the threads that weave the tapestry of who you are. When you live in full expression of your true self, you become a force of nature. Unpredictable, vibrant, and utterly irreplaceable. Part of this transformation involves learning to let go. Letting go of the need to control, of the fear of rejection, and of the desire for approval frees you to live authentically. It allows you to show up in relationships as a whole person, not as someone seeking completion or validation. This detachment does not mean you care less. It means you care in a way that is liberating rather than confining. You love deeply, but without losing yourself in the process. You give freely, but only from a place of abundance. This balance is what makes your presence so impactful and your absence so profoundly felt. To further this journey, you must cultivate a sense of purpose. Purpose is not something you stumble upon, it is something you create. It is found in the things that ignite your soul, in the contributions you make to the world, and in the legacy you leave behind. When you live with purpose, your actions take on meaning, and your life becomes a story worth telling. People fear losing those who live with purpose because they know such individuals bring a richness to their lives that cannot be replaced. This is precisely the form of growth. Another essential element of becoming irreplaceable is your ability to inspire. Inspiration does not come from perfection. It comes from authenticity and vulnerability. When you share your journey, your struggles, your triumphs, and everything in between, you remind others that they are not alone. You show them what is possible and invite them to embark on their own paths of self-discovery. Inspiration is not about leading others to follow you. It is about empowering them to find their own way. Inspiration is not about empowering them to find their own way. Finally, to become someone they fear losing, you must embody gratitude. Gratitude transforms the way you see the world and the way the world sees you. When you approach life with a sense of wonder and appreciation, you radiate positivity and attract abundance. Gratitude deepens your connections, strengthens your resilience, and reminds you of the beauty in both the extraordinary and the mundane. End of footnote. People are drawn to those who live with gratitude because it reflects a perspective that is both rare and profoundly uplifting. In the end, becoming the one they fear losing is not about creating dependency or holding power over others. It is about becoming so fully alive, so deeply connected to your own essence, that your presence becomes a source of light and inspiration. It is about living in such a way that those who know you cannot imagine their lives without you, not because they are incomplete without you, but because your existence makes their world brighter, richer, and more meaningful. In this way, there is no more meaning in your life than is expressed by your world, further richer and more meaningful. To walk this path is to commit to a life of growth, authenticity, and purpose. It is to honor the truth of who you are while embracing the infinite potential of who you can become. And in doing so, you create a legacy, not of fear, but of love, respect, and admiration, that endures long after you are gone.